I'll talk briefly about video editing principles in this tutorial in terms of a good method of creating a Premiere Pro project so that you save yourself some time later. As I say, I'll start off by talking briefly about this, and then in the second part of this tutorial I'll show you a few examples of what I mean. What I'm about to talk about isn't set in stone. It's not the only way of doing it, it's just a suggested way. So, once you've set up a Premiere Pro project panel with your named category bins and imported your assets, i.e. your video files into your video bin, any photographs or illustrations into a graphics bin or photo bin, whatever it is you called it, any sound files will be placed into an audio bin. This can be some soundtrack music or some extra audio that you've got from somewhere else. Well, once you've done all this, the next most basic thing to do is to assemble your unedited video files on the timeline. Now when I say unedited, I mean untrimmed. You've not cut the beginning and the end of a particular clip. You've actually moved those video clips directly to the timeline, exactly how you filmed them. Of course, the order of the clips might not follow the order in which the footage was shot. If you've not renamed all your footage using a program such as Lightroom or Bridge, then you're going to have lots of different files, lots of different video files that begin with a prefix and then end with a number. Well, it's not really compulsory, is it, to place your clips in the order in which they were shot? Anyway, that's up to you to decide, but once you have assembled your footage onto the timeline, or the sequence in Premiere Pro parlance, it's at this point that you can reassess the order and any edit points that you want to make. But even before trimming any files, you might decide, okay, that's the film finished, and then render out to a DVD. Well, of course, there's nothing wrong with doing that. That's the most basic film, although it doesn't take advantage of Premiere Pro's many features to create a great, rather than okay, movie. So, to get a better movie, at the very least, you'll want to trim your clips, or edit or remove or replace poor audio, or even add a soundtrack music file. Also, any poor shots that you might have filmed that could be out of focus or too shaky, etc., well, those need trimming to retain just the good bits, or if they are of too poor quality, not used at all. And then you'll be good to go like this. However, once more, you'll probably benefit from taking it a stage further, in that you'll be more advanced by composing your shots better. Now you might be asking, how can I recompose a shot once it's already been filmed? Well, remember the pixel aspect ratio we talked about earlier in previous tutorials? Dependent on the format that you use, PAL or NTSC, well, you are roughly going to be around 720 by 576 pixels. However, with very high definition footage, your pixel size might be 1280 by 720, and if this is the case, then clearly not all of that footage is going to fit within our 720 by 576 viewing area. So it might well be, with a long shot across a beach for example, with the pixel dimensions of 1280 by 720, you could artificially pan across. I'll show you how this is done later. Other advanced features you might want to incorporate include adding any visual or indeed audio effects, and we will be looking at this in much more detail later. You might also want to impose any correction filters for your video, and in fact any audio filters too. You might want to layer clips together to merge them, and you might want to use fades or transitions in between your video clips. To be fair, some people don't like transitions between clips, video clips I mean. However, I do strongly recommend that you use an audio crossfade between any edited audio clips. This way any edited audio doesn't click or pop as the audio clip ends and a new one starts. You might also want to use some slow motion effects, or even what's known as the Ken Burns effect, and in fact that's what I was talking about a few moments ago, when you use a larger pixel dimension area and pan across. So these are basic video editing principles. And now that we've talked about them, let me quickly show you what I mean. To be able to use effects, you'll need to make sure that you are looking at the effects panel. You'll find it here by default. What I'll do first of all though, is quickly walk you through that technique I mentioned a moment ago, whereby you can pan across an originally static filmed clip. Now this clip was filmed from exactly the same place, although it is handheld, so it's a little bit rocky. However, the same principle applies. First of all, select your clip with the current time indicator, the CTI, right at the beginning, here on our timeline, and then you'll need to reveal the Effect Controls panel. If you've not got this particular panel in view within this panel group, come up to Window and drop down, and where it says Effect Controls, make sure that that is checked. Once it is in place, open up your top option by clicking on that twirl arrow so that we can see revealed within motion, position and scale. I'm going to start off by zooming in slightly. So I'll take my scale from 100%, the original size, up to 125%. So in effect, it's like we've zoomed in slightly. And then just above, in the position category, we've got an X and we've got a Y dimension position. I'm going to left click on this first one, and then I'll drag it to the right, and you'll see in our main monitor to the right that the clip is actually moving across. Effectively what we are doing is creating a first anchor point. And then my next step is to come back down to the clip, place the CTI towards the end of the clip, and then come back over to my zoom level and zoom in slightly more from 125% up to 150%. And to finish off again, I'll adjust our position here. Don't worry too much if you're not getting the detail here. I'm going to go through this much later on. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll just zoom out slightly so we can see more of this, and then I'll hit the play button, and now you'll see that this static shot appears to zoom in slightly and pan across the beach a little. Okay, so that's one thing we can do. It might be at this stage that you want to improve your video. Well, by coming back over to our effects panel, I'll open up the video effects tab, and within here you'll see all these subcategories. I'll just grab one of these at random. I'll go for brightness and contrast. All I need to do, left click and drag and drop on top of our clip. Consequently now, in the effect controls panel, we now see this brightness and contrast effect has been added. And I can adjust my brightness and contrast exactly as I see fit. Okay, simple enough. Now to reiterate what I said a few moments ago, don't worry too much about not getting all the detail here. This tutorial has been designed to be an information tutorial only, in that we're looking at video editing principles. It's just that I wanted to finish off here by quickly glancing at some of the things that we can do and were brought up at the beginning of this tutorial. So, for the moment, we'll finish up, and I'll see you in the next one.